Well, I'm just getting myself psyched up this morning. I was just looking online at Triumph tickets. If you're from Canada, you may or may not know who Triumph is. It's a power trio from the late 70s and early 80s. And they are coming back on tour with a slightly altered lineup, including Phil X, who is currently the lead guitarist for Bon Jovi, and he's a Canadian guy, and he was actually back in Triumph in the late 80s. Excuse me, when Rick Emmett left. Now, I want to touch on a few things today. I'm going to get back into the Triumph upcoming concert. I believe it's in April. And I want to first touch on Mark Carney and his remarks that he recently came out and said at a function in Quebec. Now, Mark Carney said in French, he said in front of a crowd, he said that Canada has no Christian nationalism. Now, that obviously offended a lot of people. Our country is built on Christian foundations, and he went on to change or to tell, the public that we have a civic nationalism. Now, I don't even know what civic nationalism means, but basically what Mark Carney has been doing and let's back that up. What Justin Trudeau did for 10 years was usher in post-nationalism. Their style of politics or ideological stance is they don't want people identifying as Canadian, and they want as many different nationalities and from all over the world to come in and sort of wash out the Canadian identity. And a lot of people that follow my sort of content are well aware of that. And obviously, if you bring in Muslims from all over the world, and you bring in various different other religious ideological backgrounds, it's obviously going to wash out the Christian nucleus or the Christian foundation that Canada has built on for over 100 years. And they are well on their way to doing that. And it also ties into the Century Initiative, which Mark Carney and what's his name? He just named him U.S. Ambassador Mark something. I'll put it up on the screen. Who is the CEO of the Century Initiative Foundation, and they want to usher in 100 million people into Canada by 2100. And we're at 41 million now, so another 60 million. Now, the way that traditional Canadian people that are multi-generational in Canada, they're obviously not having children at the pace to bring those numbers up to 100 million in another 74 years. So their plan is to bring people in from all over the world to accomplish that. And then you can look around, and everyone knows in Canada that is their plan. They are well on their way to doing that. The population in in Canada has grown in the last 5 years by about 1 million people a year. And that is mostly from India and other countries. The Ukraine to a lesser extent, Pakistan, Chinese, and various other different countries that we've opened or made it easier for them to come into Canada. Now, Mark Carney very unwisely said a couple months ago that if Canadians wanted to judge him, they'd judge him at the checkout in grocery stores. Now, it's just being released that Canada has the highest food inflation in the G7 at 7.3%. And, I don't know if I'm communicating this correctly, but it's been reported that it's gone up 4.8%. This year already, food inflation. So anyone that does grocery shopping, and I understand if you're in a family household, it's not always two people, like two adults doing the grocery shopping. It's one or the other partners. In a lot of cases, both people do grocery shopping, both parents, and they understand the price of groceries. I do all my own grocery shopping, obviously. I'm a single guy. So, I understand, how much food has gone up, especially since COVID. And, COVID was engineered and designed to do exactly that, to transfer wealth and to people, we always said they're trying to eliminate the middle class, but they're trying to eliminate the poor and the middle class. They only want the certain these type of globalists only want the certain 1% roaming the world. Obviously, with AI being ushered in, they are going to eliminate a lot of lower skill set jobs, and that's the whole plan. It's all about depopulation. They don't want as many people on this planet as we currently have, and through COVID type scenarios, through food shortages, through the cost of food, people are going in the grocery stores. I just watched a news clip this morning. An elderly gentleman was interviewed, I believe, in Barrie, which is north of Toronto. And he said to the reporter that sometimes he goes into the grocery store, he walks in, looks at some of the prices, and just shakes his head and walks out. He doesn't even buy anything. And this is happening a lot, a lot. Even myself, I'll walk into a grocery store. I predominantly shop at Walmart because it's convenient and it's close. And I don't really like... And I go to Costco's as well. So I go to Costco, I buy my bigger pack sizes. I have a deep freeze. I have a 7 cubic foot deep freeze, and I have a refrigerator freezer. And I try to keep that stocked up in the event of the grocery stores aren't open for an extended period of time. You look to my right here, I have 2 solar generators that will run my refrigerator and freezer combos indefinitely as long as I have sun. I have fold-out solar panels. I don't have solar panels hooked up to my house. This is portable, so this will not run everything in the house, but it will keep my perishable foods from going bad for an extended period of time, as long as I can regenerate the power banks with sun. So I do have some stopgap measures in place, in case anyone was wondering about what those are. But anyhow, I went off on a bit of a tangent. So people are increasingly becoming more and more aware that Mark Carney is not going to live up to his expectations of lowering food prices, and it's by design. Like I said in my video yesterday, Mark Carney's on a trip, and between him and who's ever on the airplane, I guess it's a return trip, whatever, they spent $94,000 on in-flight meals and catering. Now, I touched on that yesterday, but put that into perspective. $94,000 on just in-flight catering for one trip. $94,000. That's going to buy, what, five families food for the entire year? And this guy is so out of touch and, so blatantly rubbing or putting the fact that he doesn't care about spending Canadians' money right in our face. Five families of 5 can live off $94,000 for a year. This guy blows the budget out in one trip overseas. So people, or especially the Mark Carney Liberals, are going to have to be held to task on this, because things are drastically out of control with regards to their drunken sailor spending. And, I've said this for a long time. It's managed decline. They are purposely bankrupting Canada. They are purposely, when I say they, I mean Justin Trudeau, now Mark Carney, are purposely putting Canada in a very vulnerable state for other countries to come in and pick up the pieces, namely Donald Trump and the United States, Donald Trump's administration. Donald Trump, by all accounts, it would appear he just wants to focus on the economy. He doesn't seem like a multifaceted, multi-dimensional individual, as it turns out. He just wants to focus on the stock market, the Dow Jones index, building resorts in the Gaza, building golf resorts all over the world, and hotels, because that's what his mindset is. I guess has been indoctrinated to do. And all the people that are contained in the Epstein files and the atrocities that are contained in the Epstein files, he is going to cover for that, obviously. And it's not going to turn out well for Donald Trump at the midterms. Now, people can predict, why Donald Trump is doing this. Is it solely to further his business holdings, to further his handler's business holdings? People are saying that he's being blackmailed by Benjamin Netanyahu in Israel. I was talking to a respected viewer of my channel the other day, yesterday, and she commented that she thinks that it may be something to do with one of Donald Trump's children, Don Jr. And I don't know. I haven't researched this. I haven't heard anything about this. But she alluded to the fact that Donald Trump Jr. might have done something so atrocious that they were using him to blackmail Donald Trump. Now, Donald Trump, like I said in one of my videos, has been accused of performing fellatio on Bill Clinton. So if that indeed is the case and they have photographic or video evidence of that, obviously that's going to be a very high bargaining, a very useful bargaining chip in blackmailing Donald Trump. So I don't know. Maybe they threatened his family with violence. You know, the world that we're living in, the cost of a human life, it would appear that it isn't very high at all. Whether you're in a developed nation like Canada, United States, or you're in an undeveloped nation like Africa, any African, that's a continent, but any African countries like Somalia, the Sudan, the Congo, whatever. You know, we think we have moral superiority over those countries, like those countries I just mentioned in Mexico and Central American countries. But in reality, do we really have moral superiority over those countries? No, because you know what? Our political system is rotten to the core here as well. We're so corrupted. Are our government less apt to want us unalived in this country? I would say no, they're not. You know, we always liken third world countries to where all the corruption is, and that's not the case. And it's becoming blatantly obvious to a lot of people within Canada, especially, that we have a lot of similarities and a lot of correlations with all these countries I just mentioned. So, Mark Carney. I don't know. Like a lot of people ask me. They go, "Dewey, like, what are we going to do?" Like a lot of people say, we need a revolution. We need a trucker convoy 2.0 type thing. I was at the trucker convoy. I've said that in many of my videos for one weekend, the second weekend, and you know, it was like a jamboree, a Canadian Pride jamboree, a Canada Day festival. A lot of people there, but I think the next time that something like that happens in Canada, it's going to be a much more drastic organization of people. It's going to be a much more, I would say, for lack of a better word, I'll put it this way. I think there's going to be civil unrest. I think there's going to be chaos in the streets sooner than later, because the bottom's going to fall out of our economy. So they are eventually going to want to restructure the economy with central bank digital currency, digital ID, social credit score systems. You know, if you do a video like this, your social credit score goes down. And eventually they are going to stop my type of content, or people like me doing this content altogether. That's their end goal. They want their state controlled media sending out their narratives. And we all know who they are. They're predominantly the CBC, CTV, City TV, Global, and then you got print media, you got Toronto Star, you have excuse me, you have Global News, the Globe and Mail, and various different other printed media outlets that are on the Liberal government payroll to the tune of multi-millions of dollars, and it all adds up to over billions of dollars. So that's what they want. They want the media controlled, so whatever they mimic, or so whatever they say, the media can mimic, and vice versa. They don't let certain media outlets into their press conferences, into their functions. Namely, the biggest one in Canada would be Rebel News with Ezra Levant and David Menzies, to name two. They always get turned away at the door. And, you know, I've seen Ezra, or I've watched Ezra, I've watched David Menzies, you know, for years now. And, you know, they can be street level, they can use street level guerrilla tactics with regards to interviews. But I always say, when they go into an organized event that's put on by any sort of political party, they are very respectful, and they come across with good questions. But the good questions that Rebel comes across with isn't in line with what the Liberal propaganda is spewing out. So they don't even want those questions to be aired in public, and they know they can't edit it out because they have their own news department where they're going to go back and they're going to put in what they want to put in. So it's a very multi-tiered system from a media standpoint. It's a very multi-tiered system from a judicial standpoint, legal standpoint. We all know. And if you don't know, we all know now that the people, the ruling class, have a different legal system. They're getting away literally with raping young children and infants and doing worse. We all know this. And it isn't going to stop. It isn't going to stop, and what we know, or what's contained in the Epstein files, isn't going to go away. And people are, like I said yesterday, people are increasingly getting more irate with regards to the inaction of the Department of Justice through Pam Bondi in the United States. They have to go after these people. They have to be people have to be made examples of. It's being reported now that Ghislaine Maxwell, whatever you want to call that lunatic, the one that they have that they are holding in some country club prison is not even her. There's been facial comparisons done with the one they have in custody to her, and it would come back it's not even the same person. There are still photography photos coming out of Jeffrey Epstein in Tel Aviv, Israel. And it looks, with a long gray hair, full gray beard, and it looks like him. So now people are also saying that Ghislaine is over there with him. They're both living in Israel. Is that a distinct possibility? Absolutely. I think they're both alive. I think they're too powerful to kill, and I think they are still running the world to a very high degree. Ghislaine's father was a high-level Mossad agent, CIA agent, MI6, MI5. I always get those two confused. One's internal, one's external, I believe. And, they, as a result, she became obviously an agent working with Jeffrey Epstein at high-level financial crimes, arms trading, and honeypotting people with regards to their sexual deviancy. So they are very networked into the espionage, into the security apparatus and infrastructure. They're too important to kill. They know too much. They are too valuable an asset to get rid of. So I believe they're still alive, and I believe they're still pulling strings. And I'm fully aware that Donald Trump knows they are alive. Donald Trump, if he somehow wins the midterms coming up in November of this year, it will be a miracle. But moreover, I think the fix will be in with regards to Donald Trump winning the midterms. If they want Donald Trump to win the midterms, Donald Trump is going to win the midterms. Now, who is they? Well, that's a good question. Who is they? Is it Israel? Are it people like Maduro's out of Venezuela? Are they rigging the election process, the machines, whatever sort of election apparatus they have? Is a guy like Maduro's, was he plucked out of Venezuela to help Donald Trump win the primaries in 2026? I think you can hear I got freezing rain pelting against the windows. It's picking it up on my headphones anyways. And there is a lot more to Donald Trump going in with Delta Force and plucking Nicolas Maduro's. A lot of it's to do with election fraud, and maybe Donald Trump needs Nicolas to help him. If you can believe that, as crazy as that sounds, none of these elections are above board. No elections in Canada have been above board in the last, since 2015, or maybe even before that. The Chinese involvement in Canada through the elections, the Russian involvement, it's all true. I shouldn't say it's all true, but where there's smoke, there's fire. And, there's a lot of allegations over the years coming out with Russia collusion, Chinese interference, Nicolas Maduro's and Venezuelan interference, and, other countries that are involved with it. They don't come to mind right now. But it is one vicious circle club, and to coin George Carlin, we're not in it. We are not in this club. They are making a mockery of the system. They are laughing at us. They are using us just as feeder fish to feed up, like a giant Ponzi scheme. And the ruling elite are at the top of that Ponzi scheme, and they are intentionally keeping us, like I said in many of my videos, they're intentionally keeping us in a constant state of fear, a constant state of chaos. Now I'm going to get back to one of my favorite bands, Triumph. This so happens to be a Canadian band. Now, people that may or may not know, people that know me, know at one time I was someone that was big into going to live music venues, and I liked getting out into live events, whether it be plays and art galleries and live art displays. I was big into that. Now, since the onset of COVID and what has happened during COVID, my thought process has changed. I'm not so much interested in going out and attending concerts, or for that matter, going out into large public events, because I just think it's all a diversionary tactic, like the Super Bowl, the World Series, the Stanley Cup Finals, the Olympics, all that sort of thing it's very interesting to watch, and I used to be big into all that. But as the years go on, I'm fully aware that it's just a diversionary tactic, like the Roman gladiator days, shiny keys, I use that expression a few times, to keep us all in a comatose state, to keep our interest away from the people that are ruining our lives. So, when I heard that Triumph was coming back, it interested me for sure. Normally I buy tickets for any sort of concerts very quickly, and I usually try to get floor seats or standing room because I like being close to the action. And now when I went online yesterday, Ticketmaster, there are limited floor seats remaining for the Toronto concert on a Friday. I believe it's in April, and there's another concert in Hamilton on the Saturday. And floor tickets are $400. You can get tickets up in the 300 levels of Scotiabank Arena for, I think, around $70, which is, that's cheap. $70 is no problem. But I don't really want to sit up in the 300 levels to watch Triumph. I've seen Triumph once, and I watched them in concert, I believe it was in 1986 or 1987, and I was young, at 16, 17, and we were third row from the back in the Grays at Maple Leaf Gardens. So you can, it's not good seats, but that's what we could get when we were kids. I'm not a kid no more, but do I want to pay $400 for a floor seat to see Triumph? And the initial response is no. Do I want to pay 60 something or $70 to sit up in the 300s? Not really either, but it would put me in the building, and I would see Triumph. I did see Rick Emmett do an acoustic show about 8 years ago at a small venue, Hughes Room, and I've met Rick. I've talked to Rick. I've been in Rick's house, and if I could find the picture, I'll put it up on the screen. But nice guy. I met his wife. I met his dog. I seen his guitar collection. I talked to him about his EDS double neck 1275 that was hanging on the wall, and so. Would I like to go and see them? Yes, I would. But do I kind of feel guilty, or do I kind of feel foolish because I just think it's a distraction going to these events? Yes, I do. So we'll see how it turns out. If I go to see Triumph, I'll do a video. Maybe not inside the concert venue, but you'll know I went anyways. But if you have any further, let me back that up. A lot of people are in the same mindset as myself. They can't justify from a money standpoint. They can't justify from a psychological standpoint wasting money, time, and energy on going to a sporting event or to a concert venue. A lot of people like that. And the internet's full of people like that. And I'm like that as well. And, I've missed a lot of good shows because of this in the last few years. Leonard Skinner is one of my favorite bands. Last time I seen Leonard Skinner, I had fourth row floors. And I paid a little bit for that. I can't remember. Maybe it was around $400. I don't know. But anyhow, they're coming back, and would I like to go see them? Yes, I would. But my interest level for that sort of thing is unfortunately greatly diminished. Is it depression? No, it's not depression. It's just the self-awareness that maybe I should be putting my money and time and effort into something else that will prolong my life on this earth. And I don't know. I'm struggling with it. But anyhow, if you got any questions, comments, or concerns, or you want to add to, you not attending, concerts, sporting events, put it in the comment section, and I will get back to you. People are also saying for me to try to put more videos out, and I'm going to try to do that. Today, I didn't want to go out and do one outside because it is freezing rain. It's nasty, nasty weather. So, I got this little impromptu studio set up here, and I'm going to use it every so often. I would prefer to be on the street, to be honest with you. And, so I'm more of an outside guy. But, this will do in a pinch, I suppose. Let me know. Let me know your thoughts. Thanks for watching. Enjoy your day. Bye.